Hey, picture this, you've been snapping pics on your phone for years, you've started getting compliments on the composition, and now the idea of finally stepping up to a real camera is both exciting and a little terrifying. You're scrolling through endless options, trying to figure out if a mirrorless system will actually be easier to pick up than a DSLR, and you're wondering if you'll end up paying for a piece of tech you'll barely understand. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon, and in the next few minutes I'm going to walk you through why the Canon EOS R100 might be the sweet spot for someone just like you, or why you might want to keep looking. First off, the biggest fear most beginners have is that the camera will be a black box of menus and cryptic settings. The R100 tries to keep that friction low. Canon's menu system is still organized around the familiar shooting mode dial you see on their DSLRs, and the touchscreen on the back is responsive enough that you can swipe between ISO, white balance, and exposure compensation without digging through submenus. In practice, that means you can spend more time actually taking photos and less time hunting for the right button. I tested it on a weekend trip to a local farmer's market where lighting changed from bright sunlight to shady stalls in seconds. The camera adjusted the exposure on the fly, and I never felt lost in a maze of options. Autofocus confidence is another make-or-break factor for new shooters. The R100 packs Canon's newer dual-pixel CMOS AF, which covers a good portion of the frame and offers face detect plus eye detect for both people and animals. I tried it while filming a friend's dog playing fetch, and the focus locked onto the dog's eyes every time it leapt into the air, even when the background was a jumble of trees. That kind of reliability removes the "I missed the shot because the camera was slow" anxiety that can make beginners put the camera down and go back to their phone. Low light performance is often where entry-level cameras stumble, but the R100's 24.1 megapixel APS-C sensor and Digi-X processor give it a decent edge. I shot a family dinner with just a single candle on the table, no external lights, just the ambient glow. The images came out with clean shadows, only a hint of noise, and colors that felt natural rather than overly processed. The trade-off is a slightly narrower dynamic range compared to higher-end models, which you'll notice if you're trying to capture a very bright window behind a dark interior. For most hobbyist scenarios, birthday parties, indoor events, twilight cityscapes, the R100 handles the darkness well enough that you won't need a separate flash all the time. Speaking of flashes, the camera does not have in-body image stabilization, IBIS, which is something to keep in mind if you plan to shoot handheld video a lot. The kit lens, the RF S18 45mm f/4.56.3 STM, is a compact zoom that's great for everyday shooting, but its optical stabilization is modest. In bright daylight, you can get away with a few seconds of handheld video without noticeable shake, but once you drop below 1/30th second, the footage starts to wobble. If you need smoother video for vlogs or short films, a gimbal or a lens with stronger stabilization will be necessary. On the other hand, the same lack of IBIS isn't a deal-breaker for stills, especially when you're shooting at faster shutter speeds. Battery life is often overlooked until you're on a long shoot and the camera powers off mid-scene. The R100 uses a LPE17 battery, which Canon rates for roughly 300 shots per charge under standard conditions. In my own testing, a day of walking around a historic town, snapping street scenes, doing a quick 4K video segment, I got close to 250 shots before the indicator turned amber. It's not a marathon battery, but it's comparable to other entry-level mirrorless bodies, and you can always carry a spare. The battery also charges via USB, so you can top it up from a power bank if you're away from an outlet. Now let's talk about the lens ecosystem, because that's the part that will determine whether this camera grows with you. Canon's RF mount is relatively new, and while there are premium RF lenses on the market, the native lineup for APS-C bodies like the R100 is still thin. The kit lens covers a useful 18-45mm range that's roughly 2,870mm in full-frame terms, which is perfect for everyday walk-around, portrait, and casual landscape shots. If you start wanting a wide angle for architecture or a fast prime for low-light portraits, you'll have to either buy an EFM mount lens with an adapter or wait for more dedicated RFS lenses to arrive. The adapter works well and maintains autofocus speed, but it does add a small bulk to the setup. For someone just getting comfortable with composition and exposure, the kit lens is sufficient, but the ecosystem limitation is something to keep in mind if you envision moving into more specialized work. Who should?